I don't want to miss the opportunity to talk about Andrew Schulz and the NELK Boys drama.
Okay.
So in case someone doesn't know, Andrew Schulz is one of the biggest. He was one of the first guys to put stand-up clips on YouTube. It just kind of wasn't done. He did it. His career got huge. He's got like specials. He had like I think his last one got 10 million views on YouTube.
And
He's
his
like
success
selling
was
out
driven by new
arenas.
media and content, right? Like,
Right. So he's a brilliant marketer. He really knows how to put a story around something he's doing, how to make something matter and relevant. He's pretty brilliant. He's a really good stand-up. He's in the Joe Rogan universe, like for sure. A couple of weeks ago, there was like this like funny drama around this podcast episode with the NELK Boys that was never released. The NELK Boys are like kind of like Jackass for Gen Z or whatever, like super online. They have like a hard seltzer brand. They're super successful on YouTube, and
yeah,
they
Happy
went
Dads.
into
Happy Dads, great shit.
they went into like involved in like they're kind of these cultural people. They have a huge podcast now. They apparently have an episode with Andrew Schulz that they never released. And Schultz was like, release it again, like knowing how to put himself make it into a story instead of just a podcast episode, right? And
He's like,
so,
calling on NELK, release the pod.
yeah, and so he got to tell his side of the story first, which is basically like he went to record the episode, and they seemed to not know who he was. It was the worst podcast episode he's ever recorded. So he said to them, like, let's just not put it out. Let's just do another one. And then they ended up putting it out last week so everyone could watch it and judge for themselves. What did you think of the episode?
So, first and foremost, did you watch the entire thing? Or the
Yes.
segments that got awkward?
I watched the entire thing. Did you not watch the entire
I
thing?
did not watch the entire
Son
thing.
of
I
a
watched
bitch.
the segments that got awkward and said you should check it out.
No,
You're a
you got to
fool.
watch the entire thing, man.
Start to finish?
Yeah,
Yeah, of
because
course I
that's
do.
the
build-up.
that's the thing.
I
Yeah.
didn't even get to. I was just in it, and then I was like, "You got to check this out." It was like goings on. I
Got
saw
it.
the clips. I didn't even know that they released the full episode. I
Yeah, they
thought
released
they were just.
the hour-long episode.
So you can fill me
Yeah.
in. I want to talk about it.
So he kind of came at it like he sat down with them in a restaurant they had rented out.
Mm-hmm.
It was him, and I don't know the Nelk Boys very well,
Yeah,
but
Steiny.
it was him, this guy Steiny, who's kind of like this young, punky jackass kind of kid who like would like isn't funny but like is popular, one of those kids. Then kind of like the brains behind the whole operation guy who's like
Kyle.
boys with Kyle with Dana White, and then the third guy Steve will do it.
Yeah.
Who's like this savant who got himself canceled and kicked off YouTube,
Yeah,
but
I know.
is like
He's just
a
like-
savant.
He
Yeah,
accidentally.
I don't know these guys.
The story is Steve had this. He built himself a huge online presence, and he accidentally got his whole YouTube channel removed because he showed some gambling. It was like some accidental gambling website in a video, and they just canceled his millions of subscriber thing. And then but he has this like sweet. He's just like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't know. Like, I just love President Trump. I just love Trump. This is what he sounds like.
He didn't
They
speak the
can't let him
entire
speak
time.
because they'll cancel the episode.
No, that's not why. I don't. Oh, is that why? I don't think that's why he
They
didn't speak
cannot
on the
show
episode.
Steve will do it on episodes. They've talked about it.
Oh,
They
interesting.
want to.
Well,
But
he
then
was on it though. They didn't blur his face or anything.
Right, but there's something to do with that. And the episode
Okay.
where they had Trump on, he didn't say anything the whole time. He was just like, I love Trump. I love
Yeah,
President Trump.
yeah.
And he's just sweet, and Schultz liked him. Maybe you could tell me how it built up to that moment, because I saw
Yeah,
the moment.
so-
And at first I was like, ooh.
Wait, what was the
Andrew.
moment? What was the moment?
The moment that I think is when he really digs into Steiny, and he's just like, he's not... He wasn't, and maybe it built up to this point, but he had a certain point. He's like, I'm not playing, and I'm not going to be forgiving. I'm
Yeah.
just going to call out everything I see and not smooth things over here.
Right. So what happened is they're talking, and I think NELK edited out a lot of the build up to getting Schultz pissed off, because Schultz said there were a lot of long moments and long awkward pauses, and there weren't in the actual episode
Yeah,
they
they
released.
cut it.
So basically, what happened is like they show up, and Andrew Schultz starts driving the conversation. He starts asking them questions,
Right.
which isn't like how it's supposed to be
Are you
when
guys
like you're
friends
the
with
guest.
each other?
Yeah, and then the questions just start getting more like so like what's your deal? Like are you guys like he starts like digging in more and more because he's kind of getting bored. He's like
And annoyed.
you know, like
He's
I took my
don't know,
time.
The chemistry is off. The chemistry is weird. It is
yeah.
weird.
and then finally he just goes at that kind of like jackassy kid because
Well, the
he's
kid was
like,
nervous and was like, "Yo, bro," and he checked his phone in the middle.
right, yeah. So he
And it
checked his
pissed him
phone,
off.
and that set him off. And so
Yeah,
the kid was going
Steiny.
the kid, which I kind of believe was kind of just like, I'm just trying my best. This is my
Hmm.
best. And I think
Yeah,
Schultz was like, well, if this is your best, like, I don't like you, and you're not a professional, and it's not good enough, and I don't like your shtick. And he
right.
just kind of went into him on his own show. And I felt bad for the kid because the kid, he was basically like, you don't know how to be yourself, which is just like this devastating, like,
Yeah,
thing to do to a
that's what
kid.
was hard to.
Yeah, and I felt bad for him because I didn't think maybe they edited it out. I thought Schultz was a little unfair to them. I thought they were trying hard and they just weren't good at it.
Yeah. It demonstrates how important like podcasting to just happen and it's fluid, but like being prepared and professional is the undercurrent of it all. And
Yeah.
I do think that it was like Harsh Musser, like he was doing him a favor, kind of like when Joe Rogan told
Candace Owens.
no, not Candace Owens. What's his name? Who was an MMA fighter, the Charcoal Puppy. I'm blanking right now.
I don't know.
Not no. Who's fighter in the kid? Looks like
Brandon Schaub?
Brandon Schaub. Thank you. God. There's an episode
How do I
where
know
Joe.
that?
What?
Yeah, how do I know
No,
that?
yeah, Brandon Schaub.
Yeah.
He says, "I don't think you're meant to be a fighter." He's like, "You don't think? What are you? What are you
Really?
talking about, Joe? I could be a. I am a fighter." He's like, "You're not a fighter. Your head's not in it. Your head is not in it, and that's why I think you have to stop. I don't think you're meant to do this." Like he gave him this
Whoa.
really harsh dose. It was coming from a place of love because they're good friends. So in this case
Yeah.
with Schultz and this kid, it wasn't really from a place of love, but maybe he was. Maybe he'll. It was painful, but the kid will definitely never let that happen again and become more aware of his like facades. But again, he's younger. He doesn't know, and he's like, can't you just like if you're having? And he gave him an option. He's like, if you're having a vulnerable moment right now, if you want
Yeah.
to be vulnerable and talk about it, that's fine. But I don't think you really know how to be yourself. You see, you're doing it again, and like that's the kind of stuff that was like unforgiving. What else is the kid's got to try to be like, yo, man, I thought we were like mishpacha, bro. He thinks I'm Jewish. I mean,
Yeah.
it just kept getting worse. But
Yeah.
again, there's two ways to play that, and I feel like Andrew talked about the fact that he's like, I could have played, I didn't want to at that point because I felt like they were wasting my time.
What I
So
really liked is you got to really see how smart Andrew Schultz is. Like
yeah,
you get to see how smart someone is when they're being mean, I think.
you
Like
like
how,
Mean.
well, it's you
That's why
get
I
to
said,
see
Michael,
like
you gotta watch this. This guy, because
you,
Mean is
you
real.
yeah,
Nice
you
is
get a
fake.
real sense of how sharp he can be and like what he's like when he's not performing.
Right. And
Like
doing shtick. He didn't do the shtick.
there was no shtick, and you're like, oh wow, like you could see how this guy is so successful because you could see how he deals with people and
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
how much respect he demands.
I guess the question
Yeah,
is, mean? Was it mean? Yes, but was it wrong?
was it wrong?
Was it wrong to do what he did and play it that way, even though it was mean? Because sometimes you gotta be, you know. And again, it could have been very aggravating. They were like doing product placement. No one was driving the conversation, and he's like, "What's going on here,
So
guys?"
in the
And
way they edited it, I
yeah,
actually think they edited it to make him look meaner than he probably was.
okay.
Because it looks like it comes a little bit out of nowhere.
And
Um,
he's like, "Do you ever like make fun of the crowd?" Yeah.
yeah,
Yes. How does it
yeah,
go? Good.
yeah. That's sort of with Seinfeld,
The
right?
human part of the podcast, I like
Yeah.
just seeing like
Th-
this is human beings
This is
frustrated,
what I.
and like it's
It's
really
what I
there's a
love.
refreshing quality to this.
Yeah, yeah,
And of course, people bounce back from this kind of stuff. I just, the human side of me feels for Andrew, and I feel for the
yeah,
kid who's like getting, you know, Andrew is his superior in every way because he's
yeah,
older, more experienced, a more experienced entertainer, a little more intelligent, a lot
yeah,
more. But like, and it's not like they're riffing on a fair, I wouldn't say it's bullying because they're like they run a huge successful podcast. So be prepared and
yeah,
like, he's like, and this is a high stakes moment for you. I get it. And if you're being
yeah,
vulnerable and you're having trouble, we could talk about that. No, bro. Like, this is me, bro. I'm
yeah.
100% me, bro.
There was
Um,
something a little like vicious about it,
Vicious.
which helps me understand like his success a little bit. Like,
Mm.
no, he was just like it was like a fight almost. Like we're both here to perform, and like and if you're not like showing up, I'll just like beat you.
No, and if you're not
There was
showing up,
something.
I'm not going to show up either.
Right, right.
In other words, I could play nice and riff and giggle with you, but like, you're not valuing my time, and you're not valuing like what we're doing here and taking it seriously, seemingly. So like, if you're not gonna do that, and you're gonna like take shots at me or something. I think like Steiny was a little provocative or something that ticked him off. He's like, "What triggered you, bro? What triggered you? If you're gonna be a little dicky like that,
Yeah,
then I'm
yeah,
not." That's what he said. Did something trigger you? Like he was trying to do that, and
yeah.
he's like, "I'm not gonna play because we can't. We're not there."
So the
And he
next
goes,
question,
"I think you're annoying. I think you're annoying. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah. You're
yeah,
annoying.
and
You're annoying. You're
at
definitely
the
annoying."
at the end of it, he invited Steiny and Kyle out, and didn't
Oh,
invite. No, he invited. Oh no, Steve will do it and Kyle out, and didn't invite the annoying guy.
really?
Yeah, he's like, yeah, yeah, yo guys, message me, we'll hook up. And he
Right.
was basically like to the third guy,
Oh.
like we're not friends. I find you annoying. Like you and I are not. We're not boys. That's what it is. It's okay.
Oh, and remember when
And
he's
yeah,
like,
I felt
he's
so
like
bad
usually,
for him.
and then he goes, usually like, how does this work? He's like, well, we have another guy usually is here. Oh, Brad. He's like, yeah, Brad's great. I love Brad.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think on his own podcast, he said, "Has anyone gotten further in entertainment with less talent than Steiny?"
Oy, oy, oy. You
Yeah.
know, I felt bad. I felt bad.
So
I kind of felt bad all around. I don't
the
feel
next
as bad
question is,
for Schultz because like whatever. I don't know. It just
I don't
like
feel bad for him. No, he's older. Also, I mean, he's like in
yeah.
his
It was.
he's
I don't know.
40, and
But
these
I'm
guys
saying
are
it was
20s.
mean, but was it wrong? That's the question. You know.
I think,
But maybe he'll grow from it. Steiny will be like, "Wow, that like." I could totally see an episode like in a year from now, man. I'm great. I mean, that was the harshest episode ever, but like it totally
yeah,
changed how I approach like what I do.
yeah, I don't see that
You know,
happening.
I
I
don't know
think
either. I feel
uh,
bad.
the next question was, what do we ever? Obviously, we've never gotten there with a guest, but do we show up as unprepared as they did that day? Like, is there a guest who could have gone?